Greetings to the students. I welcome you all on the YouTube platform of NEXT IAS, and you are watching Daily News Analysis, an initiative where we discuss major articles published in the newspapers, PIB and the AIR. We already have discussed what exactly to read and to what extent from our daily initiative what to read. You must watch that. And now, with respect to this video, let's start talking with the topic that we are going to cover. So, in decoded session, the topic that we are going to cover is UNSC reform, and in explained section, the topic that we are going to cover are cloud seeding, Rajendra Chola, SIMBEX and new lichen species found in Western Ghats. So now, as you visible over your screen, start with the first topic, which is cloud seeding, right? Why this topic is all about? Because the Delhi government to conduct cloud seeding trials in the month of September to combat the air pollution in Delhi. Right. So, this is especially with respect to the GS paper 3 environment and ecology. Now, why this topic or something about the news? For say, it is chosen to align with the retreating monsoon for better cloud conditions. Right. That is the reason this cloud seeding is being chosen. Now, the project cost is 3.21 crore allocated by the Delhi government. Now, this is very important with respect to your prelims as well. Right. That the Department of Aerospace Engineering, IIT Kanpur is the lead agency for it. Second, IIT Kanpur, IITM Pune and IMD are others involved in cloud seeding as well. And the expected outcome will be that if successful, it could become a new scientific tool for tackling Delhi's post-monsoon air pollution, which is visible over the entire years in the past certain years. Now, what is cloud seeding all about? So, cloud seeding is a weather modification technique, that means change in the weather, that involves introducing specific substances into clouds to induce artificial precipitation. Working principle: these substances act as a condensation or ice nuclei, helping water droplets or ice crystals to form and grow, and that eventually leading to the rainfall for a particular place. It was first demonstrated by 1996 by Vincent J. Schaefer, an American chemist and meteorologist. Now, the methods of delivery: the seeding can be done using aircraft, rockets, cannons and even the ground-based generators. Common seeding agents in India or the elsewhere which are being used in the practice will be silver iodide, which is mostly used, right? This is the mostly used. Dry ice and effective in super cooled clouds. Second is calcium chloride, used for warmer clouds. Now, the methods of cloud seeding, right? This screen is visible over a screen that the way the cloud seeding is being done, but the methods are: first, static seeding introduces ice nuclei into the cold clouds directly. Second, dynamic seeding, it enhances vertical air currents. Third, hygroscopic seeding uses salts to attract moisture in warm clouds. Now, very important thing, what are the applications of the cloud seeding applications? First, in drought areas, it is extremely helpful for inducing rain in all the areas where experiencing drought. Second, enhancing snowfall in catchment areas for water resources as well, right? For say, you may have the water, you may store the water once the artificial rain is being conducted. Third, the weather modification, it reduces smog, fog, dissipation and it even preventing hailstorms in the particular areas. Now, on the other side, there are certain challenges of the cloud seeding that need to be tackled in an effective manner. What are those? Those are: first, the moisture laden clouds. That means the moisture laden clouds are a prerequisite for the cloud seeding, otherwise it will not be effective. Second, risk of flooding. Yes, a risk of flooding if cloud seeding is done in excess, and flood is going to become a very different kind of artificial disaster management, which to be dealt in a very different manner afterwards. Third, environmental concern, for say potential chemical contamination and disrupted local climate patterns are certain environmental concern regarding the cloud seeding, right? Now, this is the practice question over your screen. Do practices and let us know the answer of it in the chat box. Now, commemorative the second point is commemorative coin marking the millennium of Rajendra Chola's victory. Why this topic is very important? Because this topic has a direct link with one of the very famous personality from one very famous empire of the ancient India. So from GS paper 1, arts and culture, ancient history, this topic is of great importance. Now deep dive into it, that the historical importance of the Chola Gangam lake, which is in news, right? So it was constructed by Rajendra Chola first after his victorious expedition at the Gangetic place. This topic or this information is important for your prelims perspective. What? That who constructed it and why it was constructed. Second, created as a symbol of liquid player of victory using Gange water, locally known as Poneri, located near the Bhadeshwar temple at the Gangai Konchompuram in Tamil Nadu. It originally spanned 16 miles, now reduced to around 17 kilometers, and it served as a irrigation source, drinking water supply and flood management tool for the Chola capital. Now the engineering marvels of the Chola Empire, right? Because this is one of the engineering marvels. So now we'll discuss regarding the other engineering marvels of the Chola kingdoms or Chola Empire. First, the tank was part of the northern Kaveri system linking multiple water bodies. Second, featured as an elliptical bund made of laterite stones designed to resist hydraulic pressure, still intact after 1000 years, that shows the technical know-how during the particular Chola Empire. Third, now very important thing, traditional systems like Kudi Maramathu and Irium ensured regular keep. Now these words आप देखेंगे, this is the one-liner words which are being asked by the UPSC nowadays in its prelims examination. So Kuru Maramathu is community-led upkeep and Iri Ayam is a maintenance tax that was taken from the public. Ecological and agriculture significance. The tank was a stopover site for migratory birds heading to Kodai-Karai sanctuary. Second, supported groundwater recharge. Now the water level has dropped to 650 feet due to neglect. Third, restoration of 12 connected lakes could irrigate drought-hit regions and serve Chennai's water needs year around. Now a little bit again, a very prelims specific information, right? The temple of the Chola Empire and who built it. So for say Nataraja temple, it was built by Parantak Fasam. Nagaraswamy temple built by Aditya Chola. Rajrajeshwar is very important, Rajaraj Chol first. Vilaswara temple, Rajaraj Chol first. Gangai Konchompuram, this is Rajarajeshwara is very important, and Gangai Konchompuram is even important. It was made by Rajendra first, and Kampaveshwara temple, Kolothogin Chola II, and Eravateshwar temple, Rajaraj Chola II. This is even very important. So three temples are extremely important with respect to your prelims exam. So have a look at it. Now a little bit understanding regarding the Rajendra Chola as a person. So he was a son of Rajaraj Chola I, and under his rule the Chola Empire reached to its peak. And in history it's a well say that the Rajaraj Chola and the Rajendra Chola was a son-father duo to be remembered and to be followed. Historical sources. His conquests are detailed in Tiruvalangarapura copper plates and Tirumalai rock inscriptions. Military expansions. He defeated Western Chalukyas, extending Chola rule up to the Tungabhadra river. He invaded Madurai, prompting the Pandyas to flee to Sri Lanka, which is later invaded. That means he even invaded the Sri Lanka afterwards. Northern campaign, he defeated Mahilapala of Pala dynasty, led to a successful expedition of the Godavari and the Ganges, and assumed the title of the Gangai Kot, the conqueror of the Ganges, and built Gangai Koncholpuram to commemorate his history. Now, in statement wise question as well, UPSC may ask these questions effectively. So have a look and have these things in your mind. He even launched a naval expedition against the Sri Vijayan Empire, which is the southern Sumatra at that particular time, and conquered Kadamaram, the modern Kedah, Malaysia, and expanded maritime trade with the Southeast Asia. So that means he even led to the trade expansion during the Chola Empire. Now, a little bit of prestigious titles. The first title is this Gangai Kolchurpuram or Gangai Konda. First, second, Mudikonda Cholan, Kadaram Kondan, and Pandita Cholan. These things are the titles of the Rajendra Chola first. Now, this is the PYQ. UPSC asked this question in 2025. Practice it. And this is the practice question. Practice it and do let us know the answer. Now, the third topic. There is a 30-second SIMBEX. This is a Navy to Navy exercise. And UPSC has a habit, and the state PCS has a habit of asking these kind of exercises in this paper. In UPPSC, उत्तर प्रदेश जो PSC के एग्जाम है वहां तो ये विशेष रूप से पूछे जाते हैं. So from that perspective as well, बच्चों, do have a look at it. Now, the Indian Navy will participate in 32nd edition of SIMBEX in Singapore. This long-standing bilateral maritime exercise, formerly known as Exercise Lion King, very important, is one of the India's oldest uninterrupted naval drills held annually with the Republic of Singapore Navy. Indian warships in INS Delhi, Satpura, Kiran, Shakti arrived in Singapore for this exercise. This is just for general information. Just for general information. Now, the significance. The SIMBEX is aligned with India's Vision Sagar and Act East policy, focusing on regional maritime security and cooperation. It even addresses threats such as piracy and non-state actors, promoting joint maritime safety and security of trade routes. And even it worked as an ASEAN links. How? Reflects strong Indian-Asian ties, building on in ASEAN India Maritime Exercises 2023, which was co-hosted by the Singapore itself. Now, India, Singapore, different exercises, military exercises. The first is SIMBEX that we are talking. This is a Navy. Second, Bold Kurukshetra. This is the army-based exercise. The army-based exercise. Bold Kurukshetra. This is important. Third, Asian India Maritime Initiative. This is the multilateral where India and the ASEAN countries militaries will be taking place, and it will be co-hosted by the Singapore in 2023. Now, one practice question over your screen. Practice it. Now, the fourth topic. This is a new lichen species that is recently found in Western Ghats, right? And this is very important with respect to, because it is published in the PIBs as well, and the new species. So now, with respect to GS paper 3 environment, this is important topic. Now, we need to understand regarding about the news, and then afterwards the lichens issue. The first, scientists at the MACS Agarkar Research Institute, Pune, have identified a new lichen species, Allographa ephlosodia, in the Western Ghats, highlighting the remarkable story of symbiosis, evolution, and ecological resilience. Now, the significance of the discovery. This is the 53rd Allographa species recorded in India and 22nd from the Western Ghats, and it is the first Indian Allographa species supported by molecular data, marked a significant advancement in the Indian lichenology. Now, this topic for that particular reason becomes important. Now, what are the lichens? What are the importance, the threats to it, right? And we'll go with this. So, lichens are the composite organism formed through a symbiotic partnership between a fungus and an algae. Now, what is this symbiotic relationship? The symbiotic relationships are a close biological interaction between two different species where at least one will be benefited. This is symbiotic. Now, there are different types. For say, mutualism will be there where the both species benefit. Second, commensalism there where the one benefit, other is neither harmed nor helped. Third, parasitism, where one benefit is and other will be harmed. So, three types of symbiotic relationships will be there, and this is important with respect to your prelims specific information. Now, the fungus forms the structure and absorbs minerals. The algae cyanobacterium performs photosynthesis, providing nutrients. So, this is the algae partner, that it belongs to a kingdom Protista. Cyanobacteria are from kingdom Monera and can fix nitrogen, and the both, I mean fungi partner and the algae partner, perform photosynthesis, can exist independently or in the lichen partnership. Another partner with respect to the fungal partner is, it belongs to a kingdom fungi, distinct from plants, lacks chlorophyll, relies on the external source for the nutrients, and plays a pivotal role in decomposition and nutrient exchange with plants and the lichens. Adaptability and the habitat, मतलब कहाँ कहाँ ये रह सकते हैं, कहाँ कहाँ ये पाए जाते हैं, इसके बारे में भी यूपीएससी आपसे लगातार सवाल पूछता है, तो आपको इसके बारे में जानकारी होनी जरूरी है. You ought to have this kind of information with you. Now, they are found in extreme environment from desert and to tundra. That means they can be found in desert, they can be found in tundra as well. For say, reindeer mosses is a type of lichen. Lichens help insulate the ground and serve as a forage for the animals. Lichens can completely dry out and later rehydrate, reviving their metabolic activity in the particular place, and fragments can break off while dry and grow into new lichens and sexual reproduction strategy. Now, the lichens found in India, Himalayas, Western Ghats, Aravallis, they are being found. Over 2000 species identified in India so far, and lichen rich areas are Sikkim, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and Arunachal Pradesh. Again, this is a very prelims specific information. UPSC asks questions just like this. The important roles of the lichens. The first one is the soil formation. The lichens colonize bare rocks and slowly break down by producing acids, which is aiding in primary succession and soil creation. Second, bioindicators of air quality. Highly sensitive to air pollutants, lichens are excellent indicators of air pollution and environmental health. Third, nutrient recycling. That means they contribute to nutrient cycling, especially nitrogen fixation process, enriching the poor soils of the particular area. Fourth, they work as a source of natural compounds. How? They produce unique secondary metabolites. Fifth, ecological monitoring and climate research. That means the lichen growth patterns and species distribution help track climate change, ecosystem shifts and ecological balance. So, these are the importance of the lichens. Threats to the lichens. The first one is air pollution. Major threat to lichen is the air pollution. Also, pollution in itself is a major threat to the lichens. Highly sensitive to pollutants like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, heavy metals, and they are found in lower abundance or absent in urban and industrial areas. Second, habitat destruction. For say, deforestation, urbanization, infrastructure development destroy natural substrates on which lichens grows. Third, the climate change. Of course, the air pollution wala part. Changes even in the temperature, humidity and precipitation patterns affect their survival. Some lichens are adapted to specific microclimates and cannot tolerate the shifts. Fourth, over-harvesting. In some regions, lichens are collected for dyes, perfumes, traditional medicines, decorative use, leading to a population decline. And fifth, the invasive species. How? Competition from the invasive plants like bark damaging organisms can reduce suitable surfaces for lichens to grow. Now again a practice question over your screen. Now let's start today's decoded topic, that is UNSC reforms. And why? Because India calls for time-bound UNSC reforms backed for the future agreement. So now this topic is of great importance with respect to your GS paper 2 international relation, which is of at least 60 marks. I mean the weightage of international relation in paper 2 is 60 marks out of 250 marks. Now the thing that we are going to discuss with this video will be first, what is the Pact of the Future? Second, what is UNSC? Third, why is the UNSC reform necessary? Fourth, India's demand for permanent membership of the UNSC. Fifth, challenging in reforming the UNSC. Sixth, India's effort for UNSC reform, that means the effort that India has been continuously doing. Sixth, way forward for the UNSC reform. Next, what India can do, and then last, conclusion. So the first is the Pact for the Future. Now, it is adopted as a UN Summit of the Future in September 2024. Remember, this year can be changed by the UPSC in its prelims exam. For say, they may say that the Pact of the Future was the outcome of the UN Summit of the Future 2022-2021, like this, right? So have this year in your mind. Now, nature, it is a non-binding, again very specific information and important as well, yet significant political declaration among the UN member states. It aims to strengthen multilateralism, improve global cooperation and tackle present and emerging global challenges. And what are the key areas? The key areas are, for say, the peace and security, sustainable development goals, climate change and environmental action, digital cooperation and governance, human rights, gender equality and youth empowerment, and last, transformation of the global governance. And I must convey, all those things are very specific for respect to your prelims examination. Now, what is UNSC? So, it's one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations entrusted with the primary responsibility of maintaining international peace and security, right? And this council comprises 15 members in total. Out of those 15 members, 5 are the permanent members and 10 are the non-permanent members. 5 permanent members are China, France, Russia, United Kingdom and the USA, right? These nations possess veto power, enabling one of them to block the adoption of substantive resolutions, right? As we have witnessed this thing in many instances when one of the major countries, for sometimes China, sometimes Russia, sometimes USA, they have blocked with respect to you using their veto power. Now, 10 permanent members elected by the UN General Assembly for 2-year terms based on regional representations. That means after every 2 years, right? After every 2 years, the non-permanent members are keep on changing. This is the nature, right? And last, over 50 UN member states have never served as a member of the Security Council. This is one of the major loophole. Now, why is UNSC reform necessary? So, the first is to make UNSC more inclusive and representative. How? The current structure does not reflect the democratic values of a multipolar world. Expanding the council is essential for building a fairer and more equitable international government system. Second, mismatch with contemporary geopolitical realities. The current composition, largely changed since 1945, does not accommodate the rise of new powers like India, Brazil, South Africa. Second, there is an inadequate representation from Asia, Africa, Latin America, the Caribbean regions home to the majority of the global population. And we just know that in 2024, the G20 summit that was conducted in India, the Africa was added as a member. Still, this is not a member of the UNSC major seat, right? Not among the the major 5. And that is why we are talking about these geopolitical realities. That is a greater mismatch. Third, to preserve UNSC's credibility and effectiveness, the Council's inability to act decisively in situations involving P5 interests, for say Ukraine war, Israel-Gaza conflict, has eroded the global trust upon the UNSC. There is say as well that around 56 wars is going on in the entire world at this time. Then what is UNSC doing? They may ask the country to stop their war, but they are silent when the war like Ukraine and the Israel-Gaza conflicts are going on. This has eroded the trust over the Ukraine. The fourth, failure to access global challenge for say COVID-19 pandemic, climate-induced security, right? So, this questions the Council's relevance in crisis management. Fifth, outdated structure and decision-making process. The veto-yielding power of the P5 often paralyzes the Council. The decision-making process is still rooted in post-World War II power structure with no longer reflect the today's world dynamics, where there is a clear divide between the global north and the global south. Sixth, bureaucracy and institutional inefficiency. How? The cumbersome procedures and bureaucratic delays hinder the swift global responses, and streamlining the UNSC's operational framework is essential for faster and more effective action. Seventh, inequitable financial contribution and burden sharing. How? The current formula for UN budget contribution is primarily based on gross national income with a cap for major economies. Emerging economies seeks a reassessment of the financial responsibilities aligned with their increased global roles, countries like India, and contributed significantly to debates on global peace, decolonization, development and disarmament. Eighth, the global democratic representation. World's largest democracy representing 1/6 of the humanity. The inclusion would enhance the democratic legitimacy representatives to the UNSC. We are talking with respect to the India. Ninth, strong economic and military credentials. Fourth largest economy in the world and the fast growing border power, second largest standing army, right? These things are screechingly saying that India should be a member of the particular UNSC member, and this is why the reform is now very much necessary. Third, last again with respect to India, that the largest cumulative contributor to UN peacekeeping missions, over 2 lakh troops deployed over 49 missions since 1948. That means India played a huge role in conflict resolution. It screams that there should be a UN reform and the expansion of the UN permanent seats as well. Now, India's demand for the permanent membership of the UNSC. First, the founding member and the strong UN legacy. India has been a founding member of the UN and served on the UNSC 8 times as a non-permanent member. Second, voices for developing and underrepresented countries. For say, India has been supports the interests of developing nations, particularly in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and India champions the balanced and equitable world order and has always echoed in favor of global south G77 third world countries. And we must not forget the initiatives like Vaccine Maitri, where India showed the world the how helpful hand can be useful in the terms of crisis. Third, active international engagement. It's a signatory to multiple global conventions and actively participates in multiple forums on climate change, sustainable development, anti-terrorism for say. Fourth, geostrategic importance in Indo-Pacific. We know that there is an Indo-Pacific strategy of the US, right? And majority of the trade in this particular area is leading from the Indo-Pacific. And India's strategy, the geospecific or geostrategic location of India lies in Indian Ocean. At this context, India plays a key role in maritime security and acts as a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific. Now the challenges in reforming the UNSC. Complex procedure for UN Charter amendment. Amending the UN Charter demands a 2/3 majority in the UN General Assembly, that means 129 out of 193 members, ratification by 2/3 of the UN members including all P5 nations, and we know this is a major hurdle. This is a major hurdle. With respect to India, even this is a major hurdle. Why? Because France has reiterated, Britain has reiterated, Russia has reiterated, USA has reiterated, but China never reiterated that India needs to get a seat in the UNSC, a permanent seat in the UNSC. Second, resistance from the permanent members. We just talked about this thing, right? Third, a lack of consensus among the members. For say, there has been no agreement on the key aspects such as the size of expansion in both permanent and non-permanent categories. No more discussions and no agreement as well. Regional representation, that who should represent Asia, Africa, Latin America, that means which country will represent the particular area, right? So there is not consensus among the countries of the Asia, Africa and the Latin American as well, right? Fourth, yes, one more thing as well, that whether new permanent members should have veto powers or not, and if not, then what is the purpose of becoming a permanent member of UNSC, right? So these are the questions which are still unanswered and no consensus has been built upon them. Now, fourth, opposition from the rival states and the groups. Again, the example of India, for say, India's bid for permanent membership faces opposition from several quarters. For say, China opposed due to sustained bilateral ties and desire to block regional competitors, especially in terms of Asia. Second, Pakistan, along with the Uniting for Consensus group, for say Italy, South Korea, Mexico, prefers greater non-permanent representation. Third, some argue that Asia has already been represented by China, right? Then what is the need for the India? But India pitches that China is a communist country and I as a democratic country. So I come up with the democratic values, right? So for that particular reason, this has been the position. Fifth, disagreement over the veto power. You know the point we just raised, that once the member will be there, either they'll have the veto power or not. Sixth, the geopolitical rivalries and the tension. For say, global conflicts and power struggles like Russia versus West over Ukraine, US and China rivalry going on. Sometimes we say that the US-Russia rivalry going on. Kind of things always takes place, which always impact the broader cooperation on the reform of the UNSC. Now, another dimension, how India is pitching itself as a permanent member for the UNSC. The first is active participation in the intergovernmental negotiation, right? India has been participated in this IGN platform for UNSC reform, and India has consistently demanded expansion in both permanent and non-permanent categories and enhance the representation of developing countries for say Asia, Africa and Latin America. Second, leadership within G4 group. What is G4 group? G4 group is a group of 4 nations. Who are them? Japan, Brazil, Germany and India. Now these 4 countries are the major powers, major economies, right? Germany is the 3rd largest economy, India is the 4th largest economy, Japan is the 5th largest economy. So 3rd, 4th, 5th largest economy are not the part of the UNSC Security Council. This shows that this is a regional misrepresentation has taking place and the economic misrepresentation as well, right? So this G4 group actively voices for the UNSC reform and India is a leader of this G4 group. Third, engagement with the L69 group. India is also a part of L69 group, and what is this group? This group seeks to enhance voice and representation of developing countries in global decision making, especially within the UNSC. Fourth, advocacy through bilateral and multilateral diplomacy. India has been consistently raising the issue of UNSC reforms in G20 meetings, BRICS summit, IPSA meeting, NAM meeting, Commonwealth forums. So that means India has been working or getting the consensus over time, right? Fifth, consistent position at UNGA and global summits. During events like Summit for the Future 2024, India endorsed Pact for the Future while emphasizing time-bound UNSC reform. Another, we must not forget that the 6th part, that is the peacekeeping force, the point we already have discussed, right? India is the largest military army personnel provider. That means India is a country who is looking forward for the Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kashyap Dukh Bhag Bhavet. And this has been practiced by India in its diplomacy also. Right? Now the way forward that could be. The first is expansion of the membership that increased both the number of permanent and non-permanent members. That is for ensuring greater representation from the continent like Asia, Africa and Latin America for say. Second, reform of veto power. This is important. Reassess the scope and use of veto. Consider limiting its use in cases involving mass atrocities or human rights violation. Very important thing. Phasing out it gradually introducing a collective veto override. This is the one aspect. This is the second aspect which is more important, that you phase out the veto power gradually. Third, consider proposals like indicative voting as suggested by Mr. Kofi Annan, where informal voting occurs without veto followed by a formal veto. It will ultimately lead to understand the notion and the purpose of the veto and the non-veto aspect. So, a greater representation of the policy will be reflected in the veto power. Third, institutional transparency and accountability. In it, we are focusing towards improving the UNSC's working methods for, say, greater coordination within the UN bodies, enhanced consultation with the non-members, open debates, reporting mechanisms, inclusive decision-making process, for, say. Fourth, text-based negotiations. Transitions the intergovernmental negotiations process into formal text-based negotiations to move beyond general statements and develop actionable proposals. Fifth, intermediate and innovation reform proposals. Support G4's proposal for a new category of longer-term, non-permanent seats as transitional arrangement. This could help build consensus and test the impact of structural changes before granting permanent status. Sixth, representation based on the contribution. That means, again, the reform representation based on the military, financial and peacekeeping contributions. Countries like Germany, you know that the G4 country we just pointed out, being major contributors, should have a larger say in the decision making process. And last, leverage UNGA resolution 377A, uniting for peace. Matlab, if the UNSC fails to act due to P5 deadlock, the General Assembly can step in and recommend collective action that will be more inclusive and representative. And this should be practiced very diligently as well, right? So this offers a pathway to bypass veto-induced paralysis and enhance the overall democratic oversight regarding the decision making process. That will be more people driven, that will be more democratic driven, and that will be more governance driven as well. Now, what India can do? First, strengthen global alliance G4, the part that we are already topping. Second, enhance engagement with the P5 countries. India is trying to do this thing, but with respect to China, India definitely need to adapt a very different kind of policy. Third, amplify contributions to the global governance. For, say, peacekeeping, India has been doing good, but there are sections like climate change, health diplomacy, global security aspects. India should be more proactive in nature. Fourth, push for procedural progress. For, say, press for tax-based negotiations in the intergovernmental negotiation framework that is needed. Fifth, strengthen domestic credentials. That means continue economic growth and governance reforms to showcase political and economic stability within India, and that show that India can utilize and give a direction to the other countries to follow it. Sixth, align foreign policy with the global expectations. That means maintain a balanced and a principled foreign policy that demonstrates global leadership. It will definitely again act as a net security provider in the Indo-Pacific, and India may come out as a champion of multilateralism in nature. Guys, so this is all about with this nature. There are practice questions over your screen. Do write the answers. For 150 answers, try to write the answer in 8 minutes, and for 250 words, try to write the answer in 12 minutes, but not more than that, right? Keep watching daily news analysis, and I hope that you people are learning how to read, what to read, to what extent to read, and you are having a comprehensive, detailed analysis of the topic that needed to be practiced in a manner for UPSC preparation. Thank you very much. Keep watching daily news analysis and what to read as well. Thank you, guys.